hand the conference over to Ms. Deepika Gupta Padhi. Thank you, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Raymond. Good evening and welcome everyone. We are here to discuss PNB Housing Finance Q1 Financial Year 2021 results. You must have seen our business and financial numbers in the presentation and the press release as shared with the stock exchanges and is also available on our website. With me, we have our leadership team represented by Mr. Neeraj Vyas, Managing Director and CEO, Mr. Ajay Gupta, Executive Director Risk Management, Mr. Kapish Jain, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Anshul Bhargava, Chief People Officer, Mr. Nitant Desai, Chief Centralized Operations and Technology Officer, Mr. Sanjay Jain, Company Secretary and Head of Compliance. We will begin this call with the overview and performance update by the Managing Director, followed by an interactive Q&A session. Please note, this call may contain forward-looking statements which exemplify our judgment and future expectations concerning the development of our business. These forward-looking statements involve risks and uncertainties that may cause actual developments and results to differ materially from our expectations. PNB Housing Finance undertakes no obligation to publicly revise any forward-looking statement to reflect future events or circumstances. A detailed disclaimer is on slide 2 of the investor presentation available on our website. Now, I would like to hand over the call to Mr. Neeraj Vyas for his remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Deepika. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Q1 Financial Year 2021 earnings call. I hope you all are safe and healthy and taking due precautions for COVID-19. Let me start with the update for the quarter. The disbursement during the quarter was 694 crore, impacted due to lockdown on account of COVID-19 pandemic. However, on a month-on-month basis, the disbursement registered an increasing trend. Retail segment contributed 97% of the total disbursement, with 65% disbursed towards lower risk-weighted individual housing loan segment. As on 30th June, the asset under management of the company is maintained at 83,495 crores, with retail AUM at 82% and corporate at 18% of the assets under management. On RBI moratorium, we adopted opt-in route for accepting customers' requests. Our AUM under moratorium in phase 1 was 56%, which has got reduced substantially to 39% in phase 2 as on 30th June 2020. A sharp drop is witnessed in the retail segment also, in which the moratorium under phase 1 was 49%, which got reduced to 29% in phase 2. The company adopted a proactive communication strategy with the customer on moratorium, advising each of the customer about their increased liability in case they avail the moratorium and overall amount that they are going to pay on the remaining period of life of the loan. As a result of that, you can see the result. It has come down from 49 to 29% in phase 2. In addition to that, proactive calls were made to the customer who had availed for moratorium 2, and on account of these calls, which were almost around roughly 40,000 calls made to the customer who had availed for moratorium 2, around 5,000 customers have reversed their decision on moratorium. In addition to this, we have also tied up with CIBIL to educate customers on the benefits and pitfalls of the moratorium and are witnessing some of the inquiries from the customer on our call centers. To be future ready and work in the so-called new normal, the company undertook various measures in sourcing, underwriting and collection during the quarter. With the lockdown in April 20, the extended teams were all involved in the recovery of delinquent accounts. The company also initiated in-principle online sanction of loans and in developing a new digital channel for sourcing and reviewing the loan application. We also tightened our credit guidelines to further strengthen the underwriting process, including norms on target customer industries, methods of accessing income and tightening of key policy parameters. We are also working on AI-based voice bot system in the existing resolution setup to facilitate timely EMI repayments. This is, as I mentioned, AI-based bot system will make calls to the customer who have availed moratorium 2, as also the customers who are into stage 1 and 2 and 3, and therefore this would help us in improving the collection methods. Similarly, on the corporate book, the company has created a remedial management group under direct supervision of the managing director to focus on faster resolution and effective monitoring of corporate book accounts. The group comprises employees from various verticals with a mandate to identify, discuss, plan and resolve accounts through various available options. The newly formed group has already started showcasing results through resolution of a few corporate accounts. Let me give a brief on a few corporate accounts about which I think I mentioned in my last earnings calls. Starting with IREO Private Limited, we had disbursed INR 150 crores to this and outstanding was 101 crores. This showed a reduction in outstanding by roughly INR 49 crores. As we mentioned in June, the company successfully got one part of the mortgage land auction and received 25% earnest money. Further, before the second auction of the remaining piece of land, the developer approached the company, requested us not to auction the land and resolve the account. As a part of resolution, the developer has already paid 25 crore in July 20 and balance amount is expected to come in the next 3 months' time. As on date, the principal outstandings have gone down to 69 crore. In another account, Supertech, we had given the date for auction under SARFAESI. We are expecting some kind of interest from the market. Promoter himself came to us. He is showing some interest to resolve the account. In addition to promoter, some other people have come and promoter has also joined with them and they are showing interest to buy one piece of land which would help reduce the outstanding in Supertech. But these are the issues which will take some time. As I mentioned, the RMG has been set up only a month back and therefore these are the efforts of RMG. But in case of IREO, the real effects have been shown and amount has been recovered, amount outstanding have been brought down. One major account which I mentioned last time is Ripple. There again, we had a strong battle with the promoter in court. The promoter was trying to take a stay on our SARFAESI action. With our intervention, timely intervention and arguments in the court, we have been successful in not letting the court grant stay on our action. An auction is scheduled. As a result of that, we are experiencing some interest in the market. People are coming to talk to us and they are interested either by way of development, taking development right or settling the account. Let's see what happens before 6th of August. Because that is the auction date. We have made it very clear that we will not postpone the auction unless some concrete issues or development happen. Another big account was Radius, where the outstanding is more than 250 crores. We are in close consultation and discussion with the co-lender as they are also a partner in the project. In the meanwhile, the company has initiated legal proceeding against the company under SARFAESI. In another big account, the Ornet, the outstanding is 181 crore and we have initiated proceedings under SARFAESI. The case is now admitted to NCLT and we have to join the process under IBC for resolution of the case. In case of Radius, we got interest from two developers also. We are talking to them, but right now nothing concrete is there to report. So maybe we'll come to the market whenever we have something to report there and if the resolution is done. There was another small account of part-A developer. We entered into an agreement with one of the developer. He has already paid us 10% of the amount and the last date to clear the outstanding is 30th August. Otherwise, we are right to adjust the amount paid to us by the developer. In addition to this, there was a small account of 1.56 crore which we declared last time has been fully recovered and closed without any haircut during the quarter. Apart from this key corporate account, the company has been able to resolve another account in IREO Group, which was under stage 1, with SICR, we had put it under stage 2. Here also, the promoter has paid the entire amount of overdues and has promised to pay another 5 crore by 15th of August. As of today, the account is 0 DPD. So in other words, the account is out of SICR as of today. But you have kept it at the same place without touching the provisions. Maybe we'll take a call when 5th of August, the another installment that he has promised comes. But as I told you, as of today, the account is under 0 DPD. As on 30th June, 60% of our corporate book is under principal moratorium. And just to give a flavor that this book, we have collected almost around 600 crores under moratorium in this book, but as the accounts are under moratorium, the amount has come under escrow account and the promoters have been permitted to utilize this amount. As mentioned last quarter, we are looking to sell down our corporate book. We are in discussion with a few banks on the same. We have received sanctions from 2 banks amounting to 350 crore, but again, because of COVID, the issue is there, the documentation is not happening, stamp duty is not payable. Some of the states have the noting of interest in the books of registrar of the company. That could not happen because officers are not functioning. All this is causing delay. But we have sanctioned, and going forward probably will be able to transfer these outstanding to corporate account. Out of the construction finance book of 10,300 crore, 3,422 crore is under construction with less than 50% completion. Out of this, roughly 1,000 crore is under NPA, whereas a large part of this book, that is roughly 2,290 crore, is a zero DPD book where the interest is being serviced regularly by the promoters. On AUM basis, the gross NPA as on 30th June is 2.32 crore and around 2.76 on the loan book. The life to debt write-off of the company is just 10 basis points of the cumulative disbursement. The company has created additional provision in its books, resulting in total provision to total asset at 2.7. The overall provision coverage ratio is 98% and stage 3 provision coverage ratio is 40%. I may mention that our corporate book is covered more than 100%. We are sitting at 103% of PCR in our corporate book. So taking over the liabilities about the quarter, during the quarter, the company mobilized rupees 5,484 crore to NHB, bank term loans, ECB, CP and deposit. We are second largest deposit taking HFC in the country, and during quarter one, we mobilized around 990 crore of deposit, majority of which are public deposits. These deposits are sticky in nature with average tenure of 42 months on outstanding basis. Deposit as on 30th June stand at 16,203 crores, which is roughly 20% of our total financial resources. With our continued focus on the long-term borrowing, the LM is comfortable in light of the fact that option of availing moratorium for customer has been extended up to 31st August 2020. But we have not availed the option of moratorium with respect to our payment obligation to all lenders during the moratorium period. The company has maintained adequate cash and liquid investment of rupees 7,000 crore as on 30th June, along with undrawn sanction lines of 5,000 crores. This will suffice us sufficiently till the end of Q2 FY21, by which time liquidity situation shall further ease out. Not to mention, we also have built a good pipeline of new prospective borrowings from diverse resources. For a period of time, our CRAR as on 30th June 20 increased to 18.05 with Tier 1 at 15.33%, much beyond the minimum regulatory Tier 1 requirement of 10%. Let me remind you that when we closed our year as on 31st March 2019, our CRAR was 13.98%, which today is at 18.05%, where Tier 1 comfortably at 15.33%. This has improved CRAR from 15.13 with Tier 1 of 12.04 as on 30th June 2019. Please note the CRAR numbers are IGAAP, net own funds, and do not consider any impact on either side, plus or minus of net worth arising out of Ind AS adjustments. The gearing of the company is 8.2 as on 30th June, which has improved from 9.2 as on 30th June 2019. Then the summary of financial results of Q1 is as under. Pre-provision operating profit for Q1 is 404.6 crore as compared to 427.6 crore for Q4 FY20, showing a decline of 5%. Impairment of financial instruments and write-offs in the quarter are at INR 75 crore. The additional provisions have further strengthened the balance sheet and overall provision coverage ratio. Profit after tax for the quarter stood at 257 crores as compared to the net loss of 242 crores for Q4 FY20. The spread on loans is 219 basis points, excluding the assignment income and other Ind AS adjustments. That is, as per IGAAP, the spread on loans for Q1 is 228 basis points compared to 213 basis points for Q4, more than 15 basis points above what we reported in Q4. Net interest margin for Q1 is 266 basis points against 261 basis points for Q4 1920. Gross margin net of acquisition cost and including fee for Q1 2021 stood at 261 basis points against 288 basis points during Q4 1920 due to lower fee and other operating income during Q1 as compared to Q4. The OPEX to average total assets for the quarter excluding ESOP cost of 1.24 crores being more on account of accounting provisions stood at 50 basis points. Return on assets for Q1 is 1.33 and return on equity for Q1 2021 is 12.62. The closing net worth as per Ind AS calculation is 8,170 crores. We have an employee strength of 1,494 full-time employee as on 30th June 20. As mentioned last quarter, we approached our promoter PNB to participate in the capital raise plan of the company. This is an issue I know most of you would be anxious to know. As discussed with our promoter, PNB is evaluating this and is expected to discuss in their board meeting, which may be scheduled during this month or early next month. PNB being a sovereign bank would need approval of Reserve Bank of India and Government of India, and that is the reason, as I mentioned, that the PNB is discussing internally and they take the matter to their board to take a call on this. Once there is some clarity that emerges post PNB board meeting, we will come back to the market to inform the decision taken by the PNB. The board of the company during the quarter approved its business plan for financial 2021. As per the same, company will continue to focus on lower risk-weighted assets. The AUM is expected to be maintained in the similar trajectory in FY 2021 as was the case in financial year 1920. The retail book AUM is expected to increase more than 85%, where the corporate book AUM to reduce less than 15%. This is due to various reasons, as I mentioned, focus on retail book and sell down and resolution in the corporate book. The spread is expected to be in the range of 210 to 220 basis points and gross margin of 300 to 300 basis points. With the cost rationalization measures, the operating expenditure is expected to reduce by 5 to 10% in absolute terms. The return on asset is expected to be in the range of 140 to 160 basis points with lower gearing and higher capital risk assets ratio. With this, I would throw the session open to question and answer. But before that, I know that there would be questions on one issue which I mentioned in the last earnings call. One was about the CO and about the corporate sell down. As far as CO is concerned, the company had authorized the Stakeholder Relationship Committee, NRC, sorry, the Nomination and Remuneration Committee to go for identifying the candidate suitable for CEO of the company. The NRC is actively looking for the prospective candidates in this direction, and I think an announcement would be made very shortly in this connection. But as I mentioned, the NRC has to interview the prospective candidate and zero on the best candidate, but the decision is they have already made progress in this direction, but very soon they will make an announcement, but we'll have to wait till the process is completed. As far as sell down is concerned, as I mentioned, we already have sanction of 340 crore in our hand, but because of COVID, certain offices are not working. Even the problem is there with the banks who are going to take over. Their offices are working. Sometimes their offices are closed due to COVID issues. Some cases diagnosed, the entire office is closed. That is creating problem. Another 350 crore is in very advanced stage of discussion, but definitely it is taking time. But going forward, I think we should be able to sell down our corporate book as our discussions are revealing as per the discussion with the banks. So here I think I would say that now I think the floor is open for any question that you have on the issue.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask questions may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask questions, please press star and 1. We have the first question from the line of Viral Shah from Credit Suisse. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, sir. I have two questions. Basically, on the moratorium book, while you have given the number based on the morat under phase 1 and what is the moratorium as of 30th June, if you had also disclosed in the previous results moratorium as of 5th June, and the moratorium numbers seems to have increased from there. Basically, the retail on the retail book it has increased from 20% to 29%, and on an overall basis from 31% to 39%. So, if you could explain what has been the reason behind this increase, because generally we are seeing a declining trend in moratorium across different players. I will ask the second question after this.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, about the moratorium 2, we had issued the opt-in instruction, but some of the customers going by the trend by the bank, they thought that it was opt-out and given across the counter. When we are interacted with the customers, they were interested in taking moratorium, and that is the reason, subsequently they applied for the moratorium after we declared it to the market that it is 20, and that is the reason it has gone up from 49 to 20 to 29%. But again, as I mentioned, when we had another round of interaction with the customers, some of the customers who had taken the moratorium, they withdrew out of it. So almost around 5,000 customers, they have withdrawn their request out of moratorium 2. So that is the reason, when we gave the figure to you and the figure that I am giving now, there is slight variance in that.
Right. And if you could give a sense of moratorium maybe as of date or mid-July to get a sense in terms of from end June to mid-July, what are we seeing?
No, there is no change in the moratorium 2. Whatever I mentioned just now continues to be there. But as I mentioned, that 5,000 customers have withdrawn the moratorium. But give another flavor to the people who are not taken moratorium 2. I may mention that those people who have taken moratorium 1, our collections have improved. And if you see my collection efficiency, it was 95%, then it improved to 97%. And as I talk to you today, it is just 2 days back, it is 98.15%. It includes people who have taken moratorium 1 also, where it is 95 plus.
Okay, sir. So my second question is on the margins. Basically, your margins seems to have gone up sequentially. I'm calculating it based on a calculated number, and on a quarter-on-quarter basis, it seems to be driven by increase in yield. So what is happening over here? Because largely the loan book has been flat and we haven't disbursed anything to change the loan mix. So what could have driven that? Because we are seeing usually pressure on margins generally for housing finance companies. So why was it not the case this time around?
Okay, which page you are on? Can you just share the page number so I can give you the straight answer to you? Are you talking about retail or corporate?
No, on a blended basis, margin.
Okay, on a blended basis, it has gone up because rate of interest on corporate book has been changed by us. We have increased rate of interest on corporate book on CRE, that is residential housing, by 1%, and on corporate term loan, that is, which is not a residential housing, by 1.25%.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's it from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Subrat from HDFC Life Insurance. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for taking my question. So just wanted to understand the collections in a bit more detail. In terms of absolute value, if you could give the trend, total collections in April, May, and June.
Okay. In April, May, and June, on an average, we are collecting roughly 500 crores in the 3 months. April, as you know, the lockdown was there, so collections were low. But on an average, if I take it, it is roughly 500 crores. And this is for retail. Corporate, we have collected roughly 125 crore in April. In May, it went up. In June, also it went up. But as I mentioned, the corporate book is under moratorium. These collections were under escrow account, and we gave the release to the promoter to utilize it for their expenses and construction activity.
Okay, so 400 crores was the amount for June you mentioned for retail?
Yeah. 500. June is more, 500.
500. And for May it would have been?
May was, I think, 400 odd crores. You have the exact number?
400. Okay. So, if we just refer to the Q4 presentation, then total collections which were expected for Q1 was supposed to be around 7,500 or 8,000 odd crores. So the moratorium numbers, if you see, then would it be that high? As out of 8,000 crores, if we would have received in terms of collections maybe around 1,000 odd crores in Q1, then
roughly we collect 1,600 crore for retail and 2,000 crore per month we collect. This is our collection plus minus 100 crore here. So for quarter it should be 6,000 crores. But as I mentioned, corporate we are not appropriating anything in the account. Whatever we are collecting is giving back to the promoters or the builders for construction activity. We collected 600 crore during the period, but it was basically in the escrow account which was released back to the promoter.
Okay, sir. That's all from my side. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhijit Tibrewal from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking the question. Just to extend the previous question, you suggested that, in your corporate book, you had collected about 600 crores, but you let it stay in the escrow account so that the developers can use it for the expenses and construction.
Yes.
So, sir, when you say that you just disbursed about 20 crores in the quarter, does it effectively mean that you have disbursed about 600 plus 620 crores in the quarter?
No. We are not disbursed. This is not disbursement. This is collection which came in the escrow account, and because they have taken moratorium from interest and principal both, so that has been released back to them.
Okay. So these were collections from their customers, you mean?
Yes.
They came in the escrow account. These were not your collections.
No, this was, otherwise it was gone to my interest that I could not appropriate because the moratorium has been granted.
Okay, all right. And sir, the second question is, because you are one among those first HFCs to report your Q1 results, just wanted to understand what is the thought process about, around the COVID provisions about 71 crores in the quarter?
See, COVID provision, if you see our last presentation, we had made a COVID provision of 471 crores. Right. This provision 71 we have made additionally this quarter to build a cushion in our balance sheet and to make the balance sheet stronger. We have not touched our COVID provision of 471 because COVID is still going to take some time when the moratorium gets lifted in the month of September, and thereafter the impact would be known. So we have not touched COVID provision, that continues to remain at 471 crores.
Correct. And in addition to that, you have made another additional provisions of about 71 crores in Q2.
Yes, Q1.
In Q1, you're right.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
So what I'm trying to understand is now that the total additional COVID provisions stand at about 540 crores. What was the rationale for taking in lower additional provisions of only about 71 crores in the quarter? Are we seeing that whatever we have provided?
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Are we saying that, basis our evaluation, we think that whatever we have provided until now is more than adequate and we won't need to provide any more in the coming quarters of the financial year?
See, whatever we have provided so far is adequate. That is what, I made the statement in last quarter also, and we have taken hit in our quarterly profit. We have covered our corporate book, adequately provided for the retail book. But as I mentioned, going forward, it appears to be adequate provision. We are talking to the builder, we are talking to our borrowers who have taken construction finance from us. Whatever issues are there, one-to-one, we talk to them. But going forward, telling that, maybe 4 quarters down the line, the provision will be sufficient, nobody can predict like that. But as of today, depending on the situation on the ground, depending on the feelers on the ground, collection in the escrow account of the builder, talking to them one-to-one, their past track record, I feel that this provision is adequate. Let me give a flavor to you that under moratorium, book on construction is around 60% or 58% as of today. The amount, as I mentioned in my script also, is out of that, less than 50% is 3,400 crore. Out of that, 1,000 crore is NPA. Out of 2,400 remaining, 2,200 is zero DPD accounts. So I think you can make out the quality of book based on this. So as of today, I find the provisions adequate.
Okay, sir. And just one last question, sir. I mean, even during your opening comments, you gave a color on that one existing account which was identified for SICR. I think that was a ODA account, IDO from IDO. What about the remaining three accounts which you had classified under SICR in the last quarter?
They continue to remain under stage 2, and we are trying to resolve those accounts too. But right now, they continue to remain stage 2.
Okay, and they are all in the moratorium as well. So
yes.
I mean, essentially a DPD free.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Akriti Kakkar from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for taking my question. I have two questions. First is, if you could please provide any details around the bounce rates that you've been seeing in this quarter. And second question is on the moratorium. What is the overlap between moratorium phase 1 and phase 2? If you can give any direction around that.
You're talking about the bounce rate?
Yes.
First is the bounce rate, and then what else?
Bounce rate and then the overlap between moratorium phase 1 and phase 2.
Okay. As far as the bounce rate is concerned, it was roughly, as I told you, in May it was around 5%. If you see my collection efficiency, it is 95% in May. June again it was hovering around 96 to 94, somewhere around 96%. Now as I talk to you today, it is 98 plus. So around 2% or 3% you can say the bounce rate.
All right. Okay.
And the next is?
The overlap between moratorium.
Common customer for moratorium?
Yeah, what is the overlap between moratorium phase 1 and phase 2?
Jitin would like to see the overlap. Anshul. 90%. About 90% of people who are there in Morat 2, they are there in Morat 2 also, Morat 1. Only 9% customers have opted phase 2, but they were not there in phase 1.
All right. Okay. And just one confirmation, sir. The collection efficiency is excluding the moratorium customer, right?
Yes. It is based on the billing. Whatever we are billing, and obviously the one which is under moratorium is not getting billed.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Omkar, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my question was regarding post-COVID scenario. As a second largest deposit-taking NBFC, how do you plan to utilize this crisis as an opportunity? Because there would be funds available to you at a cheaper cost.
Okay, as far as the opportunity is concerned, you see, we have a USP in terms of our delivery system, which we have strengthened further by providing an app which has been launched a few days back, where it is seamless exercise we are trying to do. Customer doesn't have to visit the branch. Sitting at home, he can complete the application, digitally sign it, it flows to us, and based on that, we can provide the sanction, because in the new scenario where people are not coming out of our homes, but they do want the houses to be purchased, we have provided this utility, which was put on trial basis 3 days back, and maybe in next 7 days time, we will try and test it based on whatever experiences and feedback we get from the customers. We'll try to roll out fully. That is one thing that we will try to do, because the demand we see, demand is coming from mass housing sector, and we are well positioned in that, because we have presence in almost all important cities from where the demand is coming, and that is where we want to utilize this opportunity by capturing the demand through the app that I mentioned. In addition to that, we have a strong force of connectors and DMTs, roughly around 15,000. That force is already available on ground, that has been activated by us, and with that, I think we'll capture the lead. And as I mentioned, we were not expecting that we'll touch a disbursement figure of 500 crores during June, but we already touched a disbursement figure of 500 crores in June, and this is mostly have come out of the sanction we accorded post 1st of April. It is not that the undrawn lines prior to 1st of April we have disbursed and we achieved the disbursement. The most of the disbursements have come out of the new sanction that we gave during this quarter. So this is where we are. As far as rate of interest is concerned, we are trying with our banks to get the rate of interest reduced on the borrowing that we have. But let me tell you, most of the borrowings happen in the second quarter of the financial year. So last year, the second quarter of financial year, we had taken loans from the banks. And as you know, the rate of interest, the policy rates have moved downward. Most of the banks have reduced their MCLR. And the condition in these kind of loan is that the reset happens on the anniversary of the drawdown. So most of the loans were taken during second half of the last year. They'll come for the reset in this half, the second half, and then you would be able to reduce our borrowing cost on that.
Okay, so you expect a margin expansion because of that in the upcoming quarters, you see?
Yeah, to some extent we will, but we'll have to pass on the benefit to the customer also, because if you see in the market, my rate of interest and the rate of interest available to the customer from the both private and public sector banks are lower. The differential is roughly around 1%. You will try to bridge the gap so that the runoff which happens in my book is avoided.
So the slight margin expansion or the steady state which we can expect?
Yeah, slight margin expansion we will retain, but we'll try to pass it on to the customer also.
The second question is on the gearing and the capital adequacy. You have sufficiently capitalized and gearing is also around 8.2%. So, I mean, what is the thinking behind raising capital then? Where do you plan to take it to the gearing ratio?
See, because we have a corporate book also, in my opinion, this gearing of 8 should be brought down further, and that is the reason that we are trying to raise the capital. Notwithstanding that reason, we had already declared to the market last year that we'll go to the market because my capital adequacy was 13.98. But subsequently, when we found that it is, we are yet to take a call to raise the capital, in which way we will raise the capital, we decided that we'll go into balance sheet management and we try to do some securitization of our assets, and in that process and on account of profit earned during FY20, our capital adequacy went up from 13.98 to 17.98%, and as of today it is sitting at 18.05%. While capital is sufficient, but you can't sit on the fence and do business. If I have to see my plan for next 2 years, I need capital at this juncture because, otherwise, again, my capital adequacy will be going down and that would impact my rating. I don't want to do that. I have to improve my rating too and reduce my gearing further. So both these factors, that is sufficient capital available for doing business and to take care of my rating in the market, because credit rating agencies have been looking at gearing of a blended gearing of 5 to 6 if I have a corporate book. Pure retail book, they are okay with a gearing of 8, but because I have a corporate book portfolio available to my book, they have a different way of looking at my gearing. So to satisfy the market, I need capital to bring my gearing down. That would help me reduce cost of fund too.
So because the question arises is that at such a lower valuation, you will be diluting much of the equity because the market capitalization has already fallen drastically.
Yeah, we'll have to take a call on that. Whatever rates today are there, based on that, if we go to the market, there would be dilution, but we have made a calculation on that, and we are okay because improving rating is prime important, and with the rating and all that, your cost of fund goes down. So we have done that calculation, and we are okay with that to raise the capital.
Okay, just one final thing is that you talked about the business plan for upcoming financial year, the current financial year. So can you just tell that again? I just missed that. In terms of ROE and AUM growth.
Okay. AUM growth will remain same because we are trying to do business of 13,000 crore, but simultaneously, as I mentioned, that we also have the differential in rate of interest. So there is a runoff which is happening in the market. Some of the banks are very, very aggressive on that. They are trying to take over the accounts because these accounts are having a vintage of 2 to 3 years. A track record is available in the market, so people are trying to take over. But we looking at a business of 13,000 crore in retail. But going by the trend, it's very easy for us, I think, cross this business. But as of today, the plan which is approved by the board is 13,000 crore for retail business, which we are going to achieve. As far as corporate thing is concerned, we had already taken a call. We will not do any corporate financing. Last year we did not do anything. Going forward also we will not do it. Whatever disbursement you are seeing in the balance sheet is basically our commitments given to the sanction we accorded before 31st March 2019. These are our commitments to the builder, and those who are on track in terms of their commitment, in terms of timelines, in terms of milestones set for while sanctioning the loan, we are still disbursing to them. So this is the plan for the financial year 21. A retail disbursement, we are expecting that we will be disbursing something around 13,000 crore. Return on asset, we are expecting to be in the range of 140 to 160 basis points.
So basically you mean, yeah, please go ahead.
This is in line with what we showed in Q1 as well.
Correct. So basically what you mean is that there would be almost all the sanction and disbursal would go to the retail side.
Yes, correct. And we are aiming that, our retail should go beyond 85%. Even the incremental disbursement, we are trying that we achieve a ratio of 25-25 in retail only, housing loan and non-housing loan as we call it.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pankaj Agarwal from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
Sir, is there any difference between moratorium numbers between under construction projects and completed projects?
No, there is no difference. There is no difference.
Similar trend. Okay. And any difference between ticket sizes?
You're talking corporate or retail?
No, within retail.
Corporate, I said everybody has taken, almost everyone, around 85% people have taken the moratorium.
Okay. So there is no different trends between different ticket sizes?
No.
Okay. Or any difference between LAP moratorium and individual home loan moratorium?
No. It is almost in the same ratio as we have the loan book.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prateek from IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question. So I just want to understand a bit on the collection numbers a bit more. So you said your collection, you do collect around 6,000 crores on a quarterly basis, on an approximate basis, and around 40% is under Morad. So your collection could have been close to around 3,800 crores. And what you said is that you collected around 500 crores average on a monthly basis. So that adds up to around 1,500 crores. And just adding the corporate book to that would be slightly higher. So I'm not able to, completely reconcile how the collection efficiency and the collection efficiency percentage is being computed. So if you could just help us with the numbers.
Yeah, I think I mentioned about the collection efficiency and average collection, but let me tell you, in the month of June itself, we got a roughly around 700 crores additional EMI paid by the customer, which I was mentioning even last time also, that some of the customers who are salaried class, particularly from the government and public sector undertaking and good private sector undertaking, the discretionary spending was not there. So they left with a surplus fund. So almost around 700 crores during June. We got 700 crores extra from such kind of customers. That is not included in the amount that I mentioned to you.
This is over and above the 1,500 crores.
Yeah, this is over and above that.
Okay. And my second question is on OPEX. I look at the OPEX number. It has the other overheads have dropped drastically from around 94 crores to around 27 crores. And so I want to understand what will be a sustainable number, for the year in the next coming 9 months. Also on the employee cost bit, employee cost had dropped to around 35 crores in the last quarter and again back up to 61 crores. So there is a bit of volatility in this number. So just tell us what will be a sustainable OPEX over the next 3 quarters.
Okay, I'll request our CFO Kapish to respond to this OPEX and employee cost.
No, so, like, I think what you should look into is the overall OPEX that we are talking about. Our overall OPEX that we have given is around 0.50, and the endeavor is to see how we can bring it down and keep it around these levels. And the outlook that we have given as well is that our endeavor is to bring the OPEX down by around 5 to 10%. Yeah. So that's the kind of number that we should track, rather than looking into a quarter-on-quarter detailing of these numbers between employee costs and others.
So you're saying on overall yearly basis, OPEX is down by around 10% over FY20.
Yeah, that's the kind of endeavor and target that we are carrying.
5 to 10%.
Okay. And just lastly on the margins, I mean, what I understand is incrementally you'll be lending more towards retail, and yields in the retail segment could be slightly lower than that we're generating for corporate. So is there a possibility that the margins could see a bit of pressure because of higher retail disbursements?
No, we have done the calculation, and as I mentioned that we are expecting ROA of around 130 to 140 basis points, 140 to 160 basis points, and return on equity is in a double digit, which is plus 13%. So I think we have done the calculation on that, because the major benefit when we are going into retail is, credit cost is not coming as high as it used to be in corporate loans.
Okay. So,
but then the benefit that you get on retail is you will be able to have a higher churn because the risk rates are lower.
These are all capitalized assets, so at 35 to 50% capital, I can churn my capital better to book the assets.
Okay. And that's my question.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, a reminder to participants that you may press star and 1 to join the question queue. The next question is from the line of Sarthak Shah, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, sir. So I just wanted to get a flavor from you in the matter of the new CEO search. I know it might be a little confidential, but if you can just give us some background about it.
I think the NRC is looking into it. They are interacting with the prospective candidates. A final call will be taken by them shortly, and thereafter will inform all the concerned. So right now it is a work in process, but it will get completed very fast. Let me tell you this much.
Okay. By when can we expect, sir?
I can't give any timeline to it, but I would simply mention that you can look at the statement made by the chairman of the company, not as a chairman, but he took the earning calls of PNB in PNB's meeting.
Okay.
MD of PNB.
Okay, understood, sir.
Right.
My rest of the questions have been answered, so that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nilesh Jain from Investec Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity, sir. Sir, is there a plan B if PNB doesn't able to subscribe to our rights issue? Then how will we address this leverage and capital raise issue?
Look, Kapish.
This Kapish here. So like what you would have seen, we have been very disciplined around this. Our capital adequacy was 13.98 as of March of 19, and our gearing was around 9.6. From there, we have taken the journey and we've brought it to around 8.2 now. And the capital adequacy is 18%. Somebody you heard in the call itself mentioning that it seems that we don't need capital anymore. So that's precisely the point. That's the plan B, in the sense that operating without getting impacted with the capital piece, our endeavor has been to make the book lighter and use our capital more judiciously by working towards more lower risk-weighted assets. And that's the plan. So that's the plan, and that's precisely what you have seen quarter on quarter. Not just an aberration in one quarter, but every single quarter you have seen that journey of lower gearing and improving capital adequacy. And that's how we're going to see how we progress.
And what level of your AUM you will be fine with the non-retail book? Is there an internal cap that you want to have on the non-retail book as percentage of AUM?
You are talking the corporate book?
Yes, corporate book as percentage of AUM. Is there an internal?
We are trying to reduce the corporate book. As I mentioned, 85 plus we will have a retail book, so obviously the corporate book would be less than 15%.
So, and after that, you will then start disbursing corporate loans.
No, corporate we have not taken a call. It's no as of today. Last financial year we did not do it. This financial year also we will not do it. Going forward, when the results are available for 21, after that the board will take a call on that. But as of today, no to corporate book.
Sure, sir. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Harlalka from Bharti AXA Life Insurance. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking my question. So, would you be able to help me with your repayment obligations over the next 2 or 3 quarters? So, basically, on your borrowings, which would be bonds, term loans, and fixed deposits.
You have to answer this question, Rohit. I would like to answer it in a manner that we are working towards keeping a liquidity which should be in the range of around 60 to 90 days of my liability commitments, without considering any moratorium being available to us from any of our borrowers, any of our lenders, and we do a business which is in line to what we are planning and striving to do. So with that, we would be working with this discipline that we keep our liquidity intact for around 60 to 90 days, taking care also that we don't have a huge liquidity which results in a big negative carry. The way we measure it is that what is my pipeline on my borrowing in addition to what I already have in my book. And that's something which is looking better to what it was maybe in around March quarter, because post the result, like what MD mentioned, the traction with banks, having them also release their results and with more limits opening up, and with we also being available with our March results, we see that traction building up where we are building a reasonably good pipeline. And that's where our comfort draws in.
But let me clarify that, whatever liquidity I mentioned that we have roughly 3 months liquidity available does not take into account any prospective limit which is not in place.
Yeah, and it doesn't even consider
clearly the cash available with me and the sanctioned lines available with me on utilized limits.
Okay, that's great. So even if I want to arrive at an estimate, can I take your liability numbers from your ALM part and adjust it
so that's
to
precisely
get your repayment obligations?
That's precisely the number you should look into, because those are scheduled liabilities as per my contractual commitments.
Okay, that's good. That would also include operating expenses, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, they would. No, they are balance sheet to balance sheet. They are balance sheet to balance sheet. My asset to my liability.
Okay, that's great. So, and most of my questions have been answered. So, just another question on your corporate book. So, let's suppose after this special moratorium is lifted, let's say a quarter down the line, how much of would your corporate book be under principal moratorium? Would you be able to give an estimate of that?
After moratorium is lifted.
Yeah, this is a special moratorium, right? But in the regular course of business, your book would be under principal moratorium, right?
Yeah. As I mentioned, it was 58% under construction book, which is under moratorium. I mentioned it to you, we had given in the month of March, it was 60%. As of today, it is around 58%.
Okay, sorry.
And as I mentioned that, majority, more than 85% of this book is zero DPD.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Subramanian Iyer from Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity. Just had a question. The capital ratios and the gearing numbers that have been given, they have been given on the basis of IGAAP numbers. How much of a difference does it make if seen in terms of Ind AS?
Manisha, comparatively,
Subbu, today the regulator has prescribed us to work on our capital adequacy basis IGAAP. And therefore we have worked on our capital adequacy basis IGAAP. It wouldn't be proper for us to do any kind of a market statement or how would its number look like basis Ind AS unless this is more formally worked out in discussion with our auditors and in discussion with our board.
Okay. Would the primary difference come from the provisioning that you are carrying, under Ind AS and under IGAAP?
No, let's not do any guesstimation there, because that's not just one differential which is there. There are differentials on fair value which comes in on the asset side as well. So some gives a positive impact, some gives a negative impact, and therefore it will be difficult to say that one would give a higher benefit than the other. We would need to work it out, and once the regulations allows and ask us to make it on those lines, we want to build it up, take it to our board, and then come to the market on what it will look like.
Got it. And just a follow-up question on collections, because I'm actually not still clear on that. So the retail collections in the month of June were about 500 crores, right? So what was the actual receivable during the month? I'm just trying to put it in context of the 29% moratorium.
No, you are talking about the collection amount of 500 crore, which is 97% collection efficiency. Based on 97% collection efficiency. So 3% was not collected, which will get raised. The bill would be raised next month. Whatever overdues are there, the billing is done next month. So if you take 97% in June, 3% was not there, means 15 crore not collected.
Yeah, got it. But I mean, just simplistically assuming that, say, 500 crores broadly, say, corresponded to about 71% of your retail book in value terms. I mean, would it be right to say that, so I mean, that your collection, that the actual amount due on the overall retail book, say, would be, so the 500 crores corresponded to the 70 crores. So would the overall book be somewhere, overall repayment due on retail would be around, say, somewhere around 700 crores?
It's difficult to work out because these are all EMIs, where the major portion goes towards interest in the initial period of the loan, and later on, as the vintage goes down, the principal, the interest comes down and the principal goes up. So I think if you apply with the calculator and all that, it's difficult to work out on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And this 500 is only the scheduled payment which is billed to the customer. In addition to that, there are prepayments and balance transfers, which also are incremental funds that do come in from the customers from time to time.
This I mentioned, around 600 we got extra in the month of June. Go ahead.
Thank you. The next question is from Anuj Singla from Bank of America. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. So one question regarding the clarity on the corporate moratorium. Just wanted to confirm the number. It's 85% you said they have opted for Morat 2 in the corporate side?
Both Morat 1 and Morat 2. Whosoever has taken Morat 1 has taken Morat 2 as well.
Okay, understood. And the second question is with regards to the FY21 plan. So where we are targeting 140 to 160 basis points of ROA. Have we built in some kind of recoveries from the accounts which we are planning to resolve over the next couple of months? So is there some amount of recovery amount also built in those numbers, sir?
Yeah, definitely. The recovery has been built into that. All kind of scenarios have been considered by making the business plan. These are the recoveries that we are going to anticipate based on the current situation. And what is this going forward, the requirement to other issues. If we have some retail book where my NPAs are 1 point something %. So all those factors have been taken into account.
Sir, would you be able to share out of the major accounts which you have highlighted in the presentation as well, including Radius and the other accounts, how much of that has been built in this number? If you can give some color on that, maybe not absolute numbers, but some color, maybe it's 3 out of those 5 accounts or any color on that will be helpful.
I think this is still difficult to share because we are discussing with the promoter and the prospective buyers. So I don't think at this stage it's okay for me to disclose this information or discuss this information. As I told you about the idea of whatever has happened, I told you. Till it happens, it's, I think, difficult to discuss it.
Understood. Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nishant Rungta from Premji Invest. Please go ahead.
Sir, thank you for the opportunity. Sorry to persist on the ALM question. Again, I had a question on the ALM table drawn on one of the slides in the presentation. If you can clarify if the maturity for assets is behavioral or contractual in nature, that the numbers disclosed here, and do they factor in the assets under moratorium at this juncture while drawing these numbers?
Which page you are on?
The ALM table in the presentation, the chart.
Yeah, yes. So the ALM, of course, is behavioral. The ALM is always drawn basis the behavioral experience on our asset book, and basis on those lines they are drawn. The moratorium is only for a very minimal period, since we are already in the month of June. Is there for next 2 months. So the impact of factoring moratorium impact and not factoring moratorium will be very minimal. It is drawn basis our experience over the last immediately prior period of last 1 or 2 years, and then populated on a behavioral basis. And on that basis, we have been drawing the ALM every time. And the ALM does definitely factors in the experience of our collections from the recent past across asset class.
Understood, Kapish. And just a follow up on that, does this also factor in the 7,000 crore of cash liquidity that you have on books while providing the positive or the negative mismatches?
Yeah. So let me give you some more understanding. This ALM is on principal to principal. So all that I have on my asset side and on my liability side has been populated. So the cash that I had of 7,000 crore has been populated into the on the asset side. And since it's principal to principal, it doesn't incorporate the 2,300 crore of annual net interest income that I mobilize for the business. So that's the additional cushion that is there on this ALM, which more than adequately covers even the 12-month gap that you see of 1,469.
Understood. Thank you so much, Kapish. This is very useful. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jigar Mistry from Buoyant. Please go ahead.
Right. Thank you. Just one question from me. When you report the collection efficiency, in the numerator, is it the total amount of EMI received for retail? So let's say if the actual collection is 500, you received an incremental 600. So you do 500 plus 600 divided by the demand rate, or is it just the 500 divided by the demand rate?
Incremental that we receive, incremental you're talking about the surplus EMI paid?
Correct.
That is not included. Collection efficiency is worked down on billing made. Anything paid beyond that, that is not included.
Correct. Even in the numerator.
Yeah. It's not billed. It's not billed. So anything beyond that is not included in collection efficiency. We include only overdue. If not paid earlier month, is included in the billing this month. And against that, we map the collection efficiency. Anything which is a prepayment or an additional EMI paid over and above the billing is not included.
The confusion is, sir, is because let's say if you say 1,500 is the regular, like a ongoing receivable that we get, and if 30% is booked in Morat, then we should ideally be looking to collect something like 1,000 crores. We have collected 500 crores. How does that make it a 97% collection?
Okay. इसका है क्या डिटेल अपने पास डिटेल वर्किंग है? 1,500 would include even the runoffs. 1,500 includes the runoffs as well. It is not that 1,500 is total amount of the billing that I am doing. You have to take into account that 1,500 includes the runoffs as well. So we'll have to provide you working, but right now it's working is not available with me. But I think maybe we can share with you.
Yeah. So just to add, I'm sorry for this confusion. Just to add, what MD is articulating is collection efficiencies is a measure of numerator denominator for all that I'm scheduled to collect, including my overdue, which is scheduled. In addition to this number, whatever I collect, which comes to us as a balance transfer or a prepayment, is what is the incremental amount which he mentioned, which adds up to around 1,500 crores.
All right. I'll try to clear this out with you again. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jigar from Financial Research. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my questions. I just want to know what is the amount we plan to raise in terms of capital? Do you have any figure in mind?
We have something around, we have an approval to raise 70, it was 2,000 crore earlier. Subsequently, we went to the board, so we are trying to raise same amount plus minus 100, 200, 200 crores. So anything between 15 to 1,800 crores.
And this would be entire, by PNB, to be put in?
Sorry?
Entirely subscribed?
No. If you go for the rights issue, it depends who are subscribing to it, who are the equity shareholder. As I mentioned, the major stakeholders are willing for it, but a call has to be taken by PNB. That depends on decision of the PNB. So if it is a rights, proportionate will come from the equity holders. If it is any other combination, after the PNB take the decision, depending on that we mobilize.
So this, how soon do you expect to go ahead? Very soon, to finalize this?
Yeah, it is expected, as I mentioned, that the PNB is expected to meet in the month of July or maybe in the month of August, early August. Let's wait for their board meeting, because ultimately, as I mentioned, PNB is a listed company and they need approval from RBI and Government of India both. So it will depend on the decision of PNB, and thereafter we'll inform the market accordingly.
Most likely it will be a rights issue, that is it?
That appears to be an option available which is most suitable, but as I mentioned, all the three options are open to us, but depends on the call taken by PNB.
Okay. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you. We'll be able to take one last question. We take the last question from the line of Abhishek Murarka from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, sir. Thank you for taking my question.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. So my question is that what is your approved borrowing limit from PNB? Your parent.
Approved borrowing limit, PNB is fixed. I am not fixed. Because they have the exposure norms.
So you would have already taken some borrowing limit.
They have the exposure norms on them.
Okay.
No such kind of limit is there with us. Ultimately, it is the lender who will decide how much to lend to whom.
Yeah, sure. So you might have some CC facility or some approved limit which you may not have utilized fully. That is what I was asking about.
PNB CC limit kitna hona?
No. So we have a blend of multiple borrowing from them. We have external commercial borrowing, we have OD lines, we have term loans, and these are replenished from time to time, and depending on my own balance sheet, my own requirement which comes in, which is submitted to them. They do the credit analysis on an absolutely arm's length basis, just like they do for any other lender, and then derive what kind of rate they can give it to us.
It's absolutely on arm's length basis. It's not that because they are the promoter in the company, they will give whatever I demand. It depends on,
Yeah. And so in the previous question on ALM, your cash is in which bucket? Is it in the greater than 5-year bucket, or which bucket does it feature in?
No, my cash
should be within 3 months. Within 3 months. Cash should be within 3 months bucket.
Okay. And finally, sir, just what is the yield on a blended basis on your retail portfolio and your non-retail portfolio?
Look, Kapish, get the number. So, just 1 minute, I will tell you.
Sure.
Yeah, so on the retail portfolio, on the home loan side, it was 9.52. It was 9.6 for the LAP portfolio, and on the corporate side, it's around 12.5 to 13%.
Got it. Thanks, Kapish. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. We'll take that as the last question. I would now like to hand the conference over to Ms. Deepika Gupta Padhi for closing comments.
Thank you everyone for joining us on the call. If you have any questions unanswered, please feel free to get in touch with Investor Relations. The transcript of this call will be uploaded on our website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of PNB Housing Finance Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. You may now disconnect your lines.
Thank you.